So I've been on this earth for a number of years, so to speak. Born in Maryland, but lived all over New England most of my life, and then settled in Virginia in the early 1980s, and have been here ever since. Have two children that I've raised in Northern Virginia, and I'd like to think successfully. And they are out in the world living their best lives now. So I've been a nurse for a long time and had the privilege of working in multiple different varieties, such as intensive care, emergency room, clinical toxicology, and more recently, although it was close to 30 years, was public health, which I never thought in a million years that I would do something like that. And then it became a passion because I realized the importance of public health and its contribution to society. It has always meant a sense of freedom. It has been, I was raised with, we have a constitution which sets forth what we basically can and cannot do in very broad strokes. And growing up with that and living in multiple different environments throughout my life, to include segregation. When I went to elementary school in North Carolina, I came home and told my father after the first day I couldn't go to that school because it was all white. I had never experienced anything like that because I grew up with diversity no matter where I went to school. And so things like that were present. I grew up during civil rights. I never could understand it because I had never experienced such separatism based on race. Grew up during the Vietnam War, could never understand that because we had this constitution that said we had freedoms for everyone, but in actuality, we didn't. So watching different people fight for those rights was meaningful. It was celebratory when it finally happened. They shouldn't have had to fight for those rights because our Constitution said they had the rights, but it was people who decided they didn't. And so knowing that it was such a dichotomy for me to experience what we should be doing and what people want. And what people want, and it tends to be a smaller group, is power and control. And even to this day, that's more alive than ever. They want power and control. And as a woman, there's a lot of places in this country that want power over women and complete control. We're losing our right to reproductive freedom. We're losing our rights to just be who we are. If you have an alternative lifestyle, you're not allowed to have that in the eyes of these people, whoever they are. And that's an infringement, as far as I'm concerned, on our constitutional rights. As many older people have grown through their lives and seen all these different things that have happened, it's a sense of loss when you realize that people want to repeal the 19th Amendment because they feel women have too much influence or were too emotional to be able to drive what makes America what it should be. It's a land for everybody. It's a melting pot. I grew my kids up with that it's not the color of someone's skin that makes us who we are. It's what's inside of us that makes us who we are. And it's tough to see that coming back. Racism tends to be alive and well. If you're alternative, you're discriminated against. If you have disabilities, you're discriminated against. And it's becoming more prevalent. And I just don't abide by those things. Those aren't part of my moral compass. I believe we all play a role in what America is, and we can make it or break it. And I feel like we're on the cusp of having to fight to keep it, or fight harder, maybe I should say, to go back to some common sense of having people live their lives and contribute to society, have a job if they want, see them raise their kids if they want. It doesn't matter to me what it is, as long as you're a decent human being. That to me is what contributes to the greater good. Kindness, respect. And a lot of people will say respect is earned, but I'm on the side of if you present yourself as one that is respectful of whatever environment you're in, you convey that message to other people, that this is one that a world that I might not have any familiarity with. I step into it, but sometimes with trepidation. But if I go with a sense of confidence that I know who I am, that I'm going to be okay, and that I treat people with respect, I treat people with kindness, I express my gratitude for simple things. And I also try my best to contribute to the greater good. And part of that was working in public health. I felt that I was really contributing to making America healthier in some small way sometimes. I am worried for this country. I see an administration that's chaotic, lacks extreme common sense. I mean, let's just get down to, I see an administration that doesn't respect people, the middle or lower class predominantly. If you've got lots of money, you're part of the group. But if you don't, if you're just the average American, which the majority of us are, or even a lower income level, they're not treated with respect. They're not treated as they have any value. Getting involved in political fighting, ripping apart your fellow candidates and stuff. I mean, some of that is always innate. It's always happened during political campaigns. But to come out and say elections are corrupt because they didn't go the way you wanted them to is absurd to me. And it worries me for the integrity of future elections. You know, we've got midterms coming up in November. Are they really going to happen? Are we really going to have an opportunity in 2028 to elect a new president? I worry that we're not, because there are people out there that are bent on staying in power. I worry about foundations, certain foundations that feel that they've got the agenda right where they want it and the way they wrote it. And there's like 23 out of 53 fundamental statements that the one particular foundation has made. 23 have been implemented already. That's frightening to me, to know that a group can dictate how things are going, and they have the audacity to think that they can do this. Now, maybe it's always been that way and it's just been very silent. I don't think so. I find those types of things pretty dangerous for us. But my hope is that we will withstand it, that we can forge through it. I look at the revolution, it all began with tea. And so maybe we need to throw some tea overboard. It took a lot of bravery and a lot of courage for people to do that. But here we are 250 years later, right now, still free, based on our Constitution. That's what gives me hope. And I don't ever want to lose that sense of hope. But it takes voices. It takes all of us standing up, not being afraid. We can be a little anxious about stepping forward. because there are factions out there that would just as soon turn around and put you in jail and silence you. And that's probably the biggest fear, is of being silenced. But I look at our young folks out there that are truly disgusted about what's going on. And this is probably the first major life event that they've experienced that would cause them to become politically active. And so the more voices that are heard, that's what gives me hope that things can change. I know I won't live to see it. I'd like to think that they are one of compassion and kindness, humanitarian, progressive, and in the sense of believing in science instead of discounting everything that science has to offer us, and progress in treating different diseases and things like that, funding in particular for grants that would help solve a puzzle of disease. That is what has currently made life better for a lot of people. It's in flux right now. It's being stripped away. A lot of things aren't being funded anymore because with the wipe of a pen, they don't believe in science. I feel we really have to get back to that. Science is science, and it is a way to move forward, whether it's through medical studies on a specific disease. For example, we have a new treatment for pancreatic cancer that has been showing immense promise. And pancreatic cancer is one of the deadliest forms of cancer out there. But the funding's been stripped. Now, fortunately, the company that is pioneering this particular drug is still moving forward with it. But I'd like to see us do better with that kind of stuff, because no matter what someone's chronic illness is, their disability, there's always a contribution to be made by them, by their presence here. So I hope we can forge our way, see through that. After all of this, we come out better humans, better humanitarians, better contributors to society.